Here we go. Yeah. It's time to listen up because the show's about to get you right. Settle in cause you be tuning into what Jujitsu life. Getting to the nitty and gritty of what the game's about. What it's really like when you get paid to fight and train for bouts. Turn it up, turn it up, turn it on louder. About to drop some knowledge, yo, it's Dominguez, Shawn, Fowler. About to give it to you straight, y'all, no filler. Pulling no punches, really couldn't get no realer. I'm a flow spiller, recognize that no one's illa. Keep it locked right on this episode because it's gonna be killer. Elite technique with the flows to get you hyped. I thought you knew with Shawn and Drew, the crew of a Jujitsu life.
What's up, everyone? Shawn Fowler, 5 Grappling, 5365. We're in the studio today shooting a Jujitsu life, and I'm here with my co-host, Drew Dominguez. What's up, man?
Not much. Another night.
Another night. And, of course, we're here with the amazing firefighter, Chris. What's your last name anyway?
Monroe.
Chris Monroe. He is a fire chief out of Chula, Vista, California, and we're here to talk about some stuff dealing with the fire department and even teach and educate others, like how to become a firefighter.
Yeah.
So, what's your background? You're a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu too, by the way. Where do you train at?
Yeah, so I train at Apex under Tim Pablo.
Okay.
You said a little while ago before we started, you wrestled through high school.
Yeah.
Was that just a natural transition? You had nothing else to do after high school? Just started jiu-jitsu?
Well, you know what? I started wrestling when I was 4.
Wow.
And wrestled all the way up. Yeah, I wrestled for a long time, man.
No shit.
One of our guys, Dale Siskin, was our wrestling coach through the whole time. Legit dude. Well, he's like a legend in San Diego, actually throughout the state in wrestling, and an old school guy. And so right after high school, UFC started coming out, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do some jiu-jitsu and get it. I'm gonna go do some, UFC and whatever. Life came around and didn't do it. And then my kids, I got 3 kids and 2 boys and a girl, and they all started rolling. And so I started like about a week after they did.
Where did you start?
So I started under a guy named Craig Cole. So he's one of the first American black belts at Fabio Santos. Craig probably got his black belt in late 90s.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, he's like a 6th
He's like one of the very first, yeah.
Dude, he is legit. Like I told my wife, like I'll go in, like I tell her, like, how I beat the crap out of the kids when I goof around with them. She's like, yeah. I was like, well, that's what Craig does to me. I'm a grown-ass man.
Is Craig still around, though?
Yeah, that's what you do.
Is he? Where is he at now?
So he's got a little studio in his backyard.
Okay.
And he's got, a group of core guys that train out there, and super good dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's super.
Where's he at now? Is he like
out in Hamul?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I see why he's. A little quiet place that for sure. That's awesome.
So he's still,
I didn't even know he was still around.
Yeah, he still trains under Fabio, and I think he just got his. If he hasn't got it yet, he's up for his 6th degree. So.
Wow.
Yeah,
so that means he's been a black belt since
18 years, huh?
3, 6, 9, 14, 19. Yeah, that's 24, dude.
Yeah, it was Alex Brandau.
Yeah.
Got it like that day or the day before, but
him and Alex, yeah. And then Alex is in Brazil now. He went back to Brazil. He had I think his dad was ill or something like that. He's been back there for a minute now. Yep.
Yeah.
So how many years have you been training overall? You just received your brown belt last year from Tim.
Yeah, so I've been training just shy of 10 years.
It's awesome.
How do you find time? We'll get into what your day job is in a little while, but how do you find time I should ask, what's a normal day for you?
Yeah. So for work, we show up at 7:30 in the morning, and then get off at 7:30 the next morning. Okay. And so throughout the day, like we come in and check out all our gear, make sure everything's good to go, so we can respond to calls, and then throughout the day it just changes from day to day. For me, I'm a battalion chief, so I kind of have like a lot of administrative duties and paperwork and all that junk, like the stuff that I didn't sign up for. Like I signed seriously, I signed up to be a firefighter.
Right.
Like emergency, go to fires, do all that. And so that's what I signed up for, but that's not really what I'm doing now. But so the dudes that are on the fire engines and the fire trucks, they actually, check out the rigs each day. They get a workout for about an hour each day. They do training every day. They go out and do inspections of businesses every day. And then throughout the day, it's just they run calls. And so the station that I'm out of, it's one of the busiest stations in the county. And the engine out of there runs probably a little over 5,000 calls a year, which is one of the busiest in the nation.
Wow. What station are you at?
I'm out of Station 1 in Chula Vista, so it's right on F Street next to City Hall.
Oh, it's right next to where the police department and everything's at. Wow.
Yeah, they got a posh, brand new station in ours.
Yep.
It's from the 40s or something. But it's cool. It's cool. It's good.
Anybody on your team train? Or is
Yeah,
it just
so
you?
there's a couple people that train. There's another guy that's a brown belt up through Checkmat out in Temecula. A couple other guys just training here.
Poncho.
And there. Yeah, exactly.
Poncho.
And a couple other guys train here and there, but nobody really dedicated. Like this other guy and I are probably the only ones that really hit it up all the time.
Nice.
How does jujitsu help you with your job? Because obviously you got to be fit to be a firefighter and do a lot of different things. So I think I really believe that it would help you stay in shape to do all the things that you do on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of these guys are, meatheads, just benching and doing this
Right.
and that. And kind of with the new CrossFit revolution coming in, a lot of guys are doing that. But even with that still, it's not the full body workout that we get in jiu-jitsu.
No, not at all.
And so in that aspect, it's great. But then also just the stress release, it's good too. I mean, because we see a ton of bad crap, like
Right.
all public safety and military, you kind of get up to the, gets up to the, the breaking point sometimes. And it's just a good stress release. And, there's days I'll tell Drew where I get there and I'm like, dude, I don't really feel like coming today. It's like I'm rather come kicking in it.
I'm like that every
Dude,
time.
Totally, yeah.
Every time we team up together, it's like, okay, well, my back. As a matter of fact, last week we partnered up, and we were supposed to start from the standing position.
Yeah.
Everybody started from the standing position but us. Tim walks by, he's
The
like,
old guys.
what are you guys doing? Start standing.
Nah, we're cool, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, man, my back can't do it. But the crazy thing is, like, you gave me that CBD, rubbed it, dude, it's good to go now.
Told you.
Yeah,
Stuff
yeah.
works, man.
Yeah,
Stuff
so
works.
it's good. It's a great stress release.
So you wrestled your whole life. Did you win state or anything
No,
in
you know
high
what?
school?
My
What did you wrestle in high school? What weight?
So I started out, my junior, senior year, I was 145, 154.
Wow.
Yeah, and then
What is Joaquin at? Like 100 pounds?
106.
106. Jeez.
Yeah. So we had a pretty good stacked weight division. My senior year, I broke my ankle up at it was either 5 counties or one of the big tournaments up in LA, and so that pretty much put me out. But I probably would have for sure placed or done way better in state. Did wrestling, off and on throughout up into college, and then did wrestling like police and firefighter Olympics and different things like that up until about.
So, just out of curiosity, police and firefighter Olympics is hold on here. I'm gonna rack my brains here. There was a gentleman that used to run it, and it was a show called Guns and Hoses. Did you ever compete in that one?
No, never.
So I can't think of the guy's name, but I ran that for him a couple of times. Guns and Hoses.
Yeah,
It was cops versus fire department, and it was some jujitsu stuff. It was pretty awesome. Like I did a show up in Palm Springs for him. I did all the logistics for it, so it was pretty awesome. But I mean, it was a long time ago, so I don't know if he's still around.
Yeah, there's it's surprising how many guys in the fire service overall.
Do they still do the boxing thing?
Yeah.
The boxing thing is pretty big
Dude,
too.
Sam's
Police and
actually
fire.
Yeah, there's a guy at Apex that's going to be doing it.
One of our, Sam, Sam.
Right.
He's doing that.
Yeah, because he works
For police and fire?
TSA.
Oh, he's TSA. That's why.
Yeah.
All right. First responders. I like it.
Yeah.
Doing that boxing match soon. I think it's coming up next couple weeks.
Yeah, I think in April sometime.
So, go ahead.
How did you get into firefighting? How did that even happen? Because a lot of guys say it was an accident. A lot of people didn't expect it to happen. It just kind of happened, or they naturally transitioned from military. Like Lalo, and Lalo converted over. He went straight from the military doing that, and so did Eric Del Fiero. And Eric's federal, and Lalo's city. Obviously, I think he's off of Imperial right now. I think he's San Diego. He's an engineer off of Imperial now. But those are like really good friends of mine for years and years and years, and they just naturally transitioned into it. Even Aldo and Louie, like it just happened. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, so it's a paramilitaristic. That's what we call ourselves, a paramilitary.
Right.
But we're not. I mean, the military is way more hardcore. Especially now that, it just seems like dudes are. I don't know if I should say this, but softer now. I guess.
Oh no, for sure.
It's just that's the way it is. It's
for
not
sure.
the old school dudes that were coming out of Vietnam and back in the day, and so it's it's a trip, like the dudes that are working now. And what, dude, I'm totally mind blank. What was your question again, Shawn?
How did you end up coming into becoming a
So,
firefighter?
My grandpa was a fireman.
Holy
And so
moly,
that
Batman!
kind of transitioned into it. I always grew up wanting to be a fireman in high school and everything. And then when time came to like actually do something after high school, I'm like, man, I'm gonna go to San Diego State, get my bachelor's degree in civil engineering. I was gonna get my master's degree in architecture. And that plan kind of fell through. And then I was like, dude, I'm gonna be a fireman. Like, and even in my senior write up, it's like, become an architect, become a fireman. And so that's kind of what it was. And so did construction, put up billboards, just working, trying to get through school and everything. And so that's kind of what led to it. And then just doors open, and I was just blessed to be able to, in my opinion, to end up with the best job in the world.
How many years have you been doing it now?
So grand total, paid and volunteer, I got a little over 25 years.
So whenever you first started, I remember Louie and Aldo both, like, they donated a lot of time. Like,
Totally.
they literally were like, it was like an internship, you know what I mean? Like, you were on season, off season, you were in for a little while, then you were gone. So it just depended on what was happening. Like, you'd get some hours, or, you'd basically volunteer your time, and then if you got some time, you would, and then eventually you finally get picked up by a team, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So back in the day, you had to you had to volunteer. You had to become a reserve somewhere or volunteer somewhere, just to gain that experience and just kind of one up that dude next to you. These days, it's not as tough of a time to get a job, as long as you have a certain couple classes. If you become an EMT, that's kind of the gets you the ticket to take the tests for each department. And then if you're a paramedic, then that really opens the door for you, and that's kind of the golden ticket. If you're a paramedic,
So as an EMT, you can get in, right?
you can, yeah.
But you have to, or do you have to have the paramedic license?
No, you don't have to. The group, we just hired 22 guys, and 12 of them are paramedics and 10 are EMTs. And so it just kind of depends on what each agency needs at that time. Yeah, like San Diego City, a bigger organization, right. LA City, LA County, Orange County,
Huntington, some of those places, they're pretty big, yeah.
Yeah, and some places only exclusively hire paramedics.
So in some cases, would you say, because I have a couple of students actually that left, and they actually went to Oregon, became firefighters, and then they laterally transferred back. Is that an easier route sometimes, or how would you call it?
Yeah, a lot of times guys will do that. They'll go to Vegas or Arizona or Washington and Oregon, and then come back, just because if you have a person that has all the same qualifications, but then you got a person that has full-time experience, it just, man, the amount of knowledge you bring with you.
You don't have to train them, so you don't have to do all the training, right?
What's crazy is you still have to go back through the fire academy, like at least for Chula Vista and most places.
Well, I'm sure. I've always heard that California is one of the hardest states to be any of those kind of like first responders or anything. Like, if you did it here, you could go anywhere else in the United States and not have to worry about it, right? But if you did it somewhere else and you have to come back here and you still have to go do it, like it's like a do-over. So it's like tough. Relearning the system for sure.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And it's tough to see these dudes. Like our current academy right now, we have 2 guys from San Diego City that have been on the job for 5 years. I think it's 5 years, something like that. Quite a bit of time, brought some experience with them. And they got to start over as a brand new guy going through a 20-week academy. It's just tough. It's tough. And it's a tough... Academy is tough.
So do you teach at the academy as well as you're a battalion commander as well?
Yeah. So
do you have a station and?
So I'll teach. What I do is I do live fire training.
Okay.
And so that's like my not expertise, but like what I'm good at.
Right.
And so for our department, myself and a couple other guys, we do the live fire training, and so that was this past week. And so like in a couple weeks, they have a Explorer Academy, which what I had talked to you about for the girls at your school.
Right.
And so they have a big academy every year, and I'll go up there and help teach out at that. And so I teach live fire training throughout the state.
What does live fire training consist of?
So we start off with a day of just kind of going over basic fire training or fire suppression techniques, like what we got to do to put the fire out.
Okay.
And then we'll actually take them into the building and structure and burn it and put them through the paces.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty.
They still have the fire tower over in well, it's part of a ship, right? That was a fire tower though, but it was over in Point Loma. So that was a ship where they used to train, for firefighting over by OG's. There's a ship still sitting there, so it's been sitting there forever. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Old military stuff. So, what are the steps that somebody needs to do to go through to actually get into the academy?
Yeah.
I know that you have to take like an EMT class at the college, and then there's a couple of avenues. I know you and you told me about a school or something outside of that, and I obviously passed all the information with all the text messages onto the kids. But what are the steps that these kids can take so they can actually get in there to make something happen like that?
Totally. So if you're the easiest step, or not the easiest, the best way to do it, and I didn't go this way, but I wish I had, is if you're in high school, even out of high school, age 16 to 21, there's the Explorer program.
Right.
And it's through the Scouting of America.
That's knowing that you definitely want to become a
Dedication.
firefighter. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't even know what they're going to do at 16
Yeah.
at all. Some people don't know what they're doing at 40.
Yeah.
I mean, I see some guys there; they're lost.
It's crazy though, like how many kids like they sign up for this program not really knowing, and then they get like the bug for it, and they're
Right.
like, man, this is it. Because it really, like, I tell everybody, like, dude, it's like going back to high school and hanging out with like all your best friends and hanging out. And, like, we eat together, we sleep together, we hang out all day together.
Right.
And you all.
And then you do jujitsu, which is the
Yeah,
same thing
it's
all
all-
over again.
Yeah. So it's like the best, like.
It's the best of both
Yeah,
worlds.
I hope my wife doesn't hear this, but like, dude, I love going to work because it's like, man, I'm gonna hang out with all my buddies, and
Right.
and so it's cool. So yeah, so the Explorer.
And there's no time frame. You don't have to go home.
You don't have to be home
There's
by.
no-
It's 9 o'clock. Where are you, honey? You're not home.
Yeah, for sure. So the Explorer program is great because it gives kids an opportunity to experience. We bring them in, we train them. After they go through the initial training, we allow them to ride on the fire engine
That's
with us,
awesome.
go on all these calls. Well, we won't take them inside fires, but we'll allow them to help out outside, or if it's a car fire or something, we'll let them help extinguish that. So, dude, it is so awesome. And we put them through, or they have the opportunity to go through an academy every year. And it's awesome because they go through all different types. They go through live fire training, rescue systems, vehicle extricate, like tons of stuff. Like nobody else, in high school gets to do. So it's pretty legit. And so that's from 16 to 21. Your senior year of high school, you can start going and take an EMT, and that's emergency medical technician. That's a 6-month
Dang,
course.
dude. So you're like way ahead of the. You're way
Dude,
ahead of the plan. If
way
you can,
ahead.
man.
Way ahead. Yeah.
So they actually have that available now. So it's kind of like in Colorado we had this school called dang, I can't remember. It was like a vocational school, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a vocational thing. Like if you maintain certain grades, you can go to the vocational.
Totally.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's free. Like if you go to college when you're in high school, it's a free class. I mean, otherwise it's not a lot. It's just
No,
whatever
but it's
junior
one
college,
major
what
thing
you
that's
do
out of the
to
way that you could already
for
be having. You
sure.
can have a job coming out of
Yeah.
high school and not have to work at Wendy's.
Yeah. So take that class, and then you can become an EMT on an ambulance. And a lot of the times it's just moving old people from dialysis center back to convalescent home, but it's getting experience. You do that for
Dude,
about
you're
a
an
year.
EMT, bro, and you didn't even know it.
Yeah. And then you can go to paramedic school, and paramedic school is about a year, and that's a little bit more intensive. And
When you have to have 2,000 hours on the bus, right?
Yes.
It's like two. So
Yeah.
for those that don't know, 2,000 hours is full time for literally 1 year of work.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
2,000. A normal man year is 2080.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's quite a bit, and their shifts vary from, sometimes you do 12 hours on the ambulance, sometimes 24. So
Right.
those hours can add up a little bit quicker. But paramedic school, it's a little more difficult, and the reason why is it takes that commitment. Like you got a lot, and what I see is you get young dudes in there, fresh out of high school, 20,
Right.
21, and like we all remember how we were at that age, like wanted to screw off with our friends, go out and party and hang out and not commit. And those are the guys that have the problems. And the pass rate for paramedic school is about 50%.
Wow.
And most
Wow.
yeah, and then there's people that take it 2 times, 3 times, and then they finally pass it. And for me, like the biggest
And paramedic, you can't take the paramedic school in high school though, right?
no.
See, and that's an because I was looking it up, and I know you told me it's like 12 or 15,000. Like it's not cheap. Like
Yeah.
you got to have to invest some money into it. So don't be screwing around.
Yeah, totally. So the private school is about $15,000. You can go to like Southwestern College, Palomar College for cheaper. But
it's a waiting game.
yeah, and if you're if you go to a private company, they're in my opinion, they're more inclined to
Make sure
do
you
what it
pass,
takes. Yeah,
especially with you're putting that kind of money into it.
absolutely, yeah.
Well, and then I think there's a vested interest in it. Like at that point, you spent so much money into it, you want to pass, so you can
Yeah,
actually get a job. You know what I
totally.
mean? And their job is to make sure that you pass,
Yeah.
however they got to do.
Yep.
Right.
So and then as soon as you get your paramedic license, that like opens the door right there, like the golden ticket, because every agency in the county for sure, if you're a paramedic, it allows you to take their tests. San Diego City and Chula Vista and National City are the only departments in the county that allow you to take their hiring test as a EMT.
What is the minimum age though before you can be hired by department?
So to become an EMT, you have to be 18 years old. So as long as you're 18, have your EMT license or EMT certification,
Right.
bam, you can start taking tests.
But as far as becoming hired by the fire department,
18. We got
18?
a guy.
Wow.
We got a guy that he's 21 right now. He's one of our explorers.
Because I remember police. I don't know if it's still that way, but it used to be like 24 or something like that. It was there was like a mandate on it, and maybe that's changed over the years. Because I remember a lot of the guys, they would come out of the military and they get picked up like that. So you had to be like 22, 23, or maybe it was minimum age of 21. So you couldn't do it right out of high school, obviously, be a cop. So
there's no minimum, and there's no, as far as I know, no maximum age.
Okay.
I know San Diego City hired a guy a couple years ago that was 52. We've hired a guy that was in his 40s. So there's no maximum age either that I know of. And crud, man, the guys that are coming out of the military right now, like, we need people that have life experience. We need people that have that work ethic that the military teaches. We need that type of people.
Structure.
So there's a lot of soft people out there still. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I hate saying that soft, but
but you come from a gritty wrestling background. It's like, so people
different.
it's a different element, and I see it all the time, especially whenever you get kids that come in and actually start training jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know, they're unfortunately they're playing video games all the time. They're not outside playing games. They're not out. I mean, dude, we were jumping off roofs. You know what I mean? We were jumping off roofs and jumping bikes off ramps that weren't even. We shouldn't even have been making those ramps. Okay. Yeah. And I mean, you don't see kids out riding their bikes anymore. You don't see them out, making or riding big wheels and tearing the skin off their toes. And I mean, you just don't see those things anymore. So you lose a lot of those kids to not being outside. People, these kids are inside all the time. They never want to go outside, or they're not playing sports. I don't know how many kids I get in the gym on a normal basis that they've never played a sport. They never anything. I mean, I have this kid right now. I just got him. He's absolutely amazing. I love him to death. But the poor kid, like, he's a big kid, you know what I mean? And he's going to have to lose some weight. He's going to have to, he's trying so hard. Like, the other day I had him, I said, look, man, you're going to do this bear crawl all the way across the room. Whatever you do, you can't fall. I've watched you fall every time you do it. Today, you're not going to fall. That's your only goal, is to not fall while you do this bear crawl today. And he did it. And he was like, wow. He was like, I can't believe I just did that. And I was like, it's in you. You just don't realize it. You know what I mean? So we've just got to get past that point. Yeah. So you don't quit. As long as you don't quit on me, we're gonna win here. And I think things are just different because as kids, we were outside. We were doing different things. Like, man, I remember being outside from sun up till sundown. Yeah. You know what I mean? You too. We talked about this before. Summertime, man. Once the lights come on, like, it didn't matter if your mom and dad yelled for you.
It mattered to me. When the lights went on, I knew I better take my ass inside.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, that's just the way it was. And you don't have kids doing those things anymore. So it takes away with the element. So.
Yeah. So with all that said, where can someone go to find all this information? Is there one website you can go to? Can we go to City of Chula Vista?
So the City of Chula Vista has a link for our Explorer program, but that's kids 16 to 21. Once you're 21, bam, you're out. Southwestern College has counselors you can go talk to. Palomar College has some counselors you can go talk to. But the reality of it is like, our doors are open. The fire station doors are open. Okay. And there's a story, this dude, Ben Vernon, super legit guy, and he rolls too. I don't know what belt he is, but legit guy that works for San Diego City. And he was telling us a story when he was going, I think he was going to UCSD at the time. And, it's late at night, and he's like, you know what? I think I'm going to become a fireman. so homeboy rolls at like 2 o'clock in the morning and rings the doorbell, Wow. If you have questions, so he rings the doorbell. Dudes are racked out, they're asleep. They're asleep for however long, and he's like, hey, I got a couple of questions about becoming a fireman. And so, they bring him in and sit down and talk to him and, okay, do this. But lo and behold, the dude's a fireman today. Wow. And he realizes, like, shoot, man, I screwed up. I should have showed up at 2 o'clock in the morning,
What was he doing awake at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Probably, think about this, though, okay? So this is funny. You're going to laugh about this, okay? Most guys go to the military not realizing that they're going to get up at 4 o'clock every morning, okay? So you turn around and you're this kid, right? In high school, you stay up late all the time. You're always hanging out with your friends. Your friends come over, stay the night. What do? Stay up till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Try to pull an all-nighter. You think it's fun. You think it's the coolest thing ever, right? Then you get to boot camp. 72 to 96 hours of no sleep straight. They do it to you on purpose to take you out of your element. 1, choose you to adapt to what's happening. And 2, they're draining the life out of you so you'll actually go to sleep whenever it's time. So they can put you on a new time clock. So 72, 96 hours later, you finally get an opportunity to go to bed. They let you go to bed. 8 o'clock. Lights out. man, you're asleep before your head hits a pillow. And then 4 o'clock comes around, and guess what? Ding, 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 time to get up. You're like, whoa, wait a minute, what just happened? You never even blinked because you were so exhausted. But that transition changes your time clock in your body instantly, because now you're going to do this for years to come. I mean, look at how jacked up I am. Still today, what time am I waking up?
That's right.
Yeah, I start work about 3:30, between 3:30 and 4. And I think it was last Thursday, I look at my phone and it's a text message at 2:49. I'm like, what's he doing awake? So I figured, because before let me head on out and get going. I sent him a message like, "What are you doing awake?" He ignored the question. He starts. No, Shawn. So he ignored my question.
I messed up, bro. Yeah, I can have a conversation.
He ignored my question. I asked, "What are you doing awake?" He just didn't even respond. He responded with another question. What about this? What about that? Next thing I'm going back and forth. I'm like, damn, he needs to sleep or something.
He goes, dude, why are you seriously? Stop right now. What are you doing awake? And I said, truthfully, and he goes, yes. I said, I hate to lose, bro. I hate to lose. And he goes, what does that got to do with anything? And I said, we've got things to look forward to, bro. I hate to lose.
That was a 30-second clip you were working on from one of the podcasts.
I hate to lose. Yep, 100%.
Have you ever had to use your jiu-jitsu out in the field?
Like I've never choked nobody out, but like we have, like there's been times where like,
really?
Yeah, you got to restrain people. And I was just telling a story yesterday. I work sometimes every now and then up at the Del Mar Fair also as an EMT supervisor up there. And there was a girl a couple years ago that bit one of the female police officers there. And we were just kind of hanging back waiting for the sheriff to get there. And like she went zombie attacks and just took a big old chunk out of this lady's arm. And so we ended up restraining her. I mean, there's different times where, people, whether they have an ultra level of consciousness or whatever, are aggressive towards us. And so we have to do whatever to protect ourselves.
No, what do the guys do that don't know how to defend themselves?
It's kind of a free for all for those guys. Yeah.
Really?
It's pretty entertaining watching some of those guys.
You guys just step back and let them figure it out?
No. We'll jump in and help them out.
Well, I remember there was a big thing downtown. I remember a couple of years ago where some actually ambulance guys got beat up downtown over trying to help some people that were having a problem down there, and they were trying to provide service to take care of them because they were bleeding and stuff, and they ended up getting beat up. They couldn't defend themselves at all.
So one of those guys is that guy Ben Vernon. He got stabbed. And
wow.
Yeah, like it was a life-changing moment for him. He went through like some depression over it, and he goes around actually and talks to different agencies now about just you hear about PTSD or PTS, however whichever you want to call it, within the military and what they've seen, and you got to figure like we see 30 years of this. Like the other night, the guys ran on a guy that shot himself in the head. We see kids die. We pull people out of buildings. I saw a guy burn to death in a car one night, and this stuff, over 30 years, impacts you. And
especially if there's one case, right? So you see guys talk about this all the time, especially, I don't care if you watch NCIS or any of those kind of shows. If you've watched any of those programs long enough, or you've been military or any of that, you see guys that have been affected by at least one major case, right? And it haunts them for the next 20 to 30 years. They can never get it out of their mind because it's something they can never unsee.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I still go back thinking of the guy that, and this happened off duty, pulled over to a car accident, and my wife and my kid was like a year old, first kid at the time, and the car wrecked, and it was on its side, and it's on fire, and I'm trying to pull the dude out, I couldn't get him out. And it's still like there's times where like, man, did I actually do everything that I did or I could have done to get this dude out? And like after I sit down, like, yeah, I did. And ended up the dude was seatbelted in his car and I couldn't have got him out. But there's still like your mind's a trip. It messes with you. Yeah. And it trips you out every now and then.
I think your mind even messes with you. Like, think about it. If you're an athlete, you wrestled, obviously. You probably played football and stuff like that. Okay.
Wouldn't let me.
You did baseball. You played football. I did too.
Played basketball.
Okay. Well, I played all those. So the thing is this. After something happens, it'll mess with your head. You're like, man, you know what I could have done different there? I should have tackled that guy by smacking his foot. And you don't know why you do it, but you're like, I should have done that. Or if you've ever been in a fight, after the fight, you like play it in your head. You're like, I should have actually hooked him with a left. You know what I mean? Right at that moment in time. But it didn't happen at the time. So, I get it.
Yeah. Crazy.
Anything else?
Nah, man. I think I really, my main goal here was to bring you here, talk about some of the firefighting stories, and really educate youth or other people that want to become a firefighter on the elements of what it takes to do that. And I think we've touched that. I think that, it's going to open the door for people that actually have questions. Why don't you tell everybody where they can kind of find you
Yep.
in case, excuse me, sorry, in case they want to actually reach out to you and pose those questions again.
Absolutely. So you can find me at Apex Jiu-Jitsu.
There you go.
Right.
Bonita. Timmy.
Or I work at Chula Vista Fire Department Station 1. It's on F Street, 447 F Street. But you're more than welcome to stop at any fire station throughout the county. The fire service is a brotherhood, just like jiu-jitsu is. It's like, man, it's just we're a bunch of dudes and gals that like our job. We love our job.
Right.
And you can stop by any fire station and ask questions, and they'll guide you in the right direction.
Perfect. Appreciate the time, man. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So for this and all of our episodes, check us out at 5grappling.com. If you are also interested in the podcast format, we are on iHeartRadio, iTunes, and also Spotify. Don't forget to check out YouTube. And we are out of here. Thank you for your time. Thanks, Chris, for coming.
Yeah.
Drew, have a good night.
You
Talk
too.
to you guys. Out. We would like to thank our sponsors, 5 Grappling, 5365 Media, 5 Forward Foundation, 5 Superfoods and Shaved Ice Company, Hono BJJ, and the Fuji Mat Company. Without you, we are nothing. For this episode or any of our episodes, check us out at 5grappling.com or follow us on social media at 5grappling. If you're watching this video on YouTube or listening via podcast, don't forget to click the subscribe button below. Thank you for your support. 5 Grappling. Compete, evolve. Real people, real stories, real life. 5 brand.